Hello children, welcome back. So, we will continue the lesson, 4th lesson, Louis Pasteur. So, 9th until 9th paragraph we have finished. So, we will start the 10th paragraph. So, we have seen Louis Pasteur's experiments, right. We have seen the first experiment about the soup, right. About soup he has done experiment, and also he wanted to prove that in the air the germs will be existing, right. He wanted to prove that. So, let us see one more experiment, and he also proved that germs will be there in the air, impure air. Let us start the 10th paragraph, very easy, we can easily understand it. So, this is only one of many hundreds of experiments which Pasteur made to show how full the air is air is of full dust particles and how germs may be carried by this dust. So, he want so many experiments he has done. Okay. This is only one of the many hundreds of experiments he has done. So, just we have seen only one experiment out of that 100 experiments. What he has proved that in the air itself so many dust particles will be there, and how these germs will be carried through the dust, right. That is what nowadays we are doing, putting mask to our nose, right. So, that dust particles and the germs will not be enter. So, one very useful experiment was made to show the difference between pure and stale air. Okay. Pure air and the impure air. He wanted to show how the pure air will be. In the pure air, no germs will be there, but in the stale air, that is impure air, will be having some germs. Bacteria will be existing in the stale air. So, he wanted to prove how. How? Let us see. He has done some experiments, okay, so that we can understand whether the stale air has the dust particles or not. Pasteur again filled some bottles with soup. One more soup experiment this is, okay. What he did, he took the soup bottles and put it some soup in that bottles, and he took some into a little hotel bedroom where the air hardly ever changed. So, first what he has done, he took soup bottles and some bottles he took. Maybe imagine he has taken 6 soup bottles and filled it with the soup. May imagine 2 bottles he has taken to the hotel, just I am telling imagine example. He took to hotel bedroom and kept in that hotel bedroom. So, in the hotel bedroom, I mean large, how it will be, the inside the room the air will not be changed, right. Fresh air will not be available constantly, that air will, because always the rooms, windows, everything will be closed, the doors hardly open, that is the reason air will. So, he wanted to check. So, broke their necks off so that the air could enter freely, and after a few minutes sealed them up again. So, as after filling that bottle with the soup, he opened the lid, okay, neck he opened, and he made the air to enter into the bottle. Understood? It means that in that soup, imagine it is a box. So, in this box he kept the soup was there, imagine, and after taking this bottle to soup, to the bedroom, he opened that bottle. Inside soup is there, and allowed the air, the hotel bedroom air to enter this bottle. Okay. After that again he sealed that bottle. Understood? And he took that bottle. Next, after that what happens? After a few minutes seal them up again. He took some bottles into a field nearby and did the same with them. Again he took one more bottle and he took them next time where he went? Field you know, right, where the farmers will be working, the crops will grow. So, to that place he took some more bottles and he did the same. He opened the soup bottles and he had another bottle, not the hotel bedroom, the bottle, another bottle, the fresh soup. He took and he opened the bottle, the lid, and allowed that field air to enter the bottle, and again he sealed it. Got it? Again he sealed it. Next, After that, what happened? Finally, he opened some on the top of a high mountain and again sealed them up. Again, he took the another bottle to where? Mountain. So, here mountain, he took to mountain and he did the same thing. He opened the bottle and he allowed the air to enter into the bottle. Understood? So, now 3 bottles he got, three different places, right? First hotel bedroom, second what? Field, and third one is the mountain place. Can you imagine what would have happened? Okay, then fine, we will see what had happened. You can easily imagine, I think so. Then finally he opened some on the top of a high mountain and again sealed them up. What was the result? When they were examined, the bottles opened in the hotel bedroom were full of soup which had gone completely moldy. Underline that, completely moldy. Little spoiled it was. And the bottles opened in the field were moldy, but not quite so bad. Okay, those open, little bit spoiled, which in the field, but which were kept in the hotel bedroom, no, that bottles, that soup was completely bad. It has become completely bad, but field a little bad, not that much. Then those opened on the mountain had no germs in them at all. See, fresh air. In that mountain, fresh air we will get, right? That will not be constant. On the mountain top, if you go, that air which is existing, that is not constant, it will be flowing off. That's why we will get fresh air. So, that soup, it was completely good. No germs at all. So, by this experiment, he wanted to prove that in the air, dust particles will be there. And through that, the air is like a media. Okay, it is transporting the dust particles also. But which air? Stale air, not the pure air. Got it, no? Through mountain place. This is one more experiment. Now let us see we'll move forward. Nowadays we pay a great deal of attention to pure air. Open windows to freedom from dust to garden cities. Pasteur was one of the first to show how necessary all these are if we are to fight against germs and disease. So, he was ready here. So, he was interested how necessary we have to fight against these germs and dust. Nowadays, that's why we all pay attention to get the pure air. We want pure air. We don't want impure air, right? So, that's why whenever fresh air, where we can get in the parks, gardens, because trees will be there, plants will be there, they will be taking the oxygen and they will release the carbon dioxide. No. The plants will take carbon dioxide and they will release the oxygen so that we can get the fresh air. Then 12th paragraph, if we see, another very useful discovery of Pasteur's while he was working in Paris and was the process which we now call after him pasteurization. Have you seen this word on the milk packets? Pasteurized milk. Have you seen? If you didn't see, go and check. Early morning and mom will be cutting the milk packet, right? At that time you ask her, go take the packet and see pasteurized milk. You can see that word, right? Let us see what is that pasteurization and what is that pasteurized milk. Some French wine growers were troubled by a germ which had turned their wine sour. Wine sour, it has become spoiled. Very important, this is very easy and listen carefully. So, what happened? French wine growers. So, it means that the French people who are manufacturing the wine, they were troubled by a germ. Means they were struck by problem. What was that problem? So, their wine is getting spoiled. They cannot sell that wine. Okay, it means that they are not able to store the wine for long time. It is getting spoiled. So, they were getting trouble. So, because their business will be getting down, right? That's what. Now, then see, Pasteur showed that by heating the wine or milk or whatever it may be to a temperature of 50 to 60 degrees centigrade. So, underline that 50 to 60 degrees centigrade, the germs were made harmless. Pasteurized is in milk Pasteurized milk is milk which has been treated in this way and then sealed to prevent more germs from entering. This process is called pasteurization. It means that any milk, it may be milk or any substance, any drink or any liquid, if you boil it to the 50 to 60 degrees centigrade, all the germs which and all present in that liquid, in that substance will be completely destroyed. It will be killed. So, we can get the pure milk. Understood. That is what sometimes if anyone is not feeling well, at that time doctor suggests that have the boiled water. You have to take only boiled water. So that the whatever water that you are taking, if you are boiling that water, whatever germs are present in that water, it will be killed. That is why we will get the boiled water, right. Most people prefer to drink boiled water. That process is called what? Pasteurization. That is why we get the pasteurized milk. Very important. Listen, what is the French growers' problem? French wine growers' problem? Because they were troubled by a germ which has turned their wine into sour. So, Pasteur has given idea for them and helped them to come out of their problem. How? He suggested them to boil. Then next important, listen carefully and remember that. Then let's move to the next one. 13th paragraph. Louis Pastuer was what we should call an all-around scientist. All the research which he did in his laboratories was meant to help his fellow human beings. It would be impossible to imagine Pasteur experimenting with explosives or poison gas. See here, he was always helping whatever experiment that he did, it was helping for the fellow human beings. Simply, he has not done the experiments just for his name's sake. Always he had the desire to help the human beings to come out from their problems. That was his good heart. Right? He is not selfish. Just for the name's sake, okay, I want to become great. He didn't have that idea. What a good man, right? So he wanted to help the human beings by doing experiments. That is the reason always he was doing so many experiments in order to help the human beings come out from the problems. And it would be impossible to imagine Pasteur experimenting with explosives or poisonous gas. He never used to do that experiments on these poisonous gases. Then Pasteur founded the branch of science called bacteriology. Underline that. Pasteur founded the branch of science called bacteriology, or the study of bacteria. You can easily understand, right? What is bacteriology? It is nothing but study of bacteria. And he showed what a wide range it had by studying the bacteria in all sorts of different activities. Okay. And now what he do, he showed that wide range, so much of information he gave in all sorts of different activities he did, and he wanted to show. And for 3 years he spent all his time and energy in tracking down the cause of a disease which had ruined the silkworm industry. Underline that. So many, how many? 3 years really he had been spending his time in finding the solution. What is the solution? He wanted to find the cause. For what? Something had been striking this silkworm industry, tracking down everywhere. That is the reason he wanted to find the solution for that. Silkworm industry was there. So there some problem was there, some disease. The people were getting the diseases. What is that? He began to believe that most, if not all, infectious diseases were due to certain bacteria which, if they got into the blood, multiplied there and caused the disease. That is his impression. That is his opinion. Okay. The bacteria will enter the blood. After that, it will be multiplying by itself and causing that disease. Then many other men were working and experimenting against those bacteria which were the enemies of man. and which were invisible but present everywhere and always ready to attack. Dr. Jenner in England had already discovered vaccination for smallpox, but inoculation against other diseases had not yet started. Okay. So, already that in here many people were working in order to get the vaccines and things, right. They were against this bacteria. Bacteria are nothing but enemies of man, which are invisible. That is the problem. If it is visible, we can be escaped, but it is invisible, right. We can't identify where this bacteria will be unless you take microscope and check. That is the problem here. So, here Dr. Jenner in England had already discovered what is that, what he has discovered, vaccination for smallpox. And also, but what he had not discovered is inoculation. What is this inoculation? We will see this. So, inoculation is a method that was discovered by Pasteur. Pasteur was trying, listen carefully, very important. Pasteur was trying to discover a cure for the terrible disease called anthrax. Right, few years back, not few years, so many years back, even America and even India also, they were struggling by this disease, anthrax, which meant nowadays we were, all people were afraid of this disease, right. In the same way, so many years back, this disease were making like shaking the entire world, especially the Americans, which men sometimes get from infected shaving brushes and which was attacking cows and sheep in France and killing them off very quickly. So, that was the disease. Through how it was infected, shaving brushes and also cows and sheep. Which country? France. And he found out first of all that a cow could not have anthrax. Okay, twice. So, he has taken one cow which did not get the anthrax twice, 2 times he did not get. Then he began to wonder whether it would not be possible to make a cow and even a man just a little ill with anthrax so that they might not get it again. So, here listen carefully. It means that if the cow has been affected with the less power of the bacteria of this anthrax, it could be survivable. Okay. Then even in the same way men also, if only weak germs are there, then immunity power is there in that man, right, then he can survive. That is what nowadays we are hearing, that immunity, we have to improve our immunity so that we can kill the germs. Same thing, he is the person who introduced the vaccination process, inoculation process. How? Let us say, perhaps this could be done by giving the cows or sheep very weak old germs to make them safe or immune. Underline this, very weak old germs of the same disease he will take. Weak, which has no strength to spread. Okay, that germs he will take, and from that only he is preparing the vaccination, inoculation, that is called safe or immune for the future. One can imagine how dangerous this idea of giving people germs must have seemed in those days. So, we can imagine, right, what the other scientists will be, hey, what type of idea you got, how can we inject the germs into the human beings, right, whether it may be weak germs or strong germs, it does not matter, germs means germs only, right. So, that is why there is so much of objection he faced. So many scientists were angry about but they agreed to allow Pasteur to prove it by a public experiment. Okay, they have given challenge. Okay, they give one more opportunity. Okay, you can prove it. Publicly you have to show the experiment. Then only we can accept that method. Otherwise, it is very harmful to inject the germs into a human being. Right, we can't imagine also. So, Pasteur collected some sheep, goats and cows and divided them into 2 lots. So, two separate separate groups he made: sheep, goats and cows. Then to one lot he gave injections of his weak anthrax germs. Okay, three parts he has taken. One lot, one group he has given weak germs. The other lot was left alone. Other one, like that only he left, he didn't give anything. Then on a certain day, all the animals were injected with the most deadly disease, deadly anthrax germs that could be produced. On the third day after the experiment, a crowd. So as what he did, one side, one group he has given weak germs, another group he didn't give the germs. But in the third day he had mixed everything. All the two groups he has mixed, three groups he mixed, and a crowd of people all together came. They wanted to see what would happen. Right, then gathered round the sheds to see what had happened to the animals. Pasteur, even though he was so sure of himself, must have felt nervous, right? Of course, he has so much of confidence on him, on his idea about the weak germs, injecting the weak germs. But of course, we can imagine its mental condition in front of other scientists who were against him, right? And all the people also sitting there to watch this. Then all the 24 animals that had first been protected by the weak germs were perfectly well. See what happened? First, no, perfectly well. Whatever germs that he had injected, no, that group was perfectly all right. It means they got the immunity power. Then the deadly injection had done them no harm at all. Of the other 24 animals, 22 were dead and the other 2 were dying. Okay, like this he could able to prove that weak germs can work as immune. Then like a vaccination. When the new, so that is called the inoculation, injecting the weak germs of the same disease. When the news spread that Pasteur had discovered a cure for anthrax, hundreds of people wrote to him for supplies of vaccine or weak germs, and he had to turn his laboratory into a kind of small germ factory. Okay, like that everyone began to ask. So he got demand for the vaccine of that deadly disease, and even small laboratory has become big factory of germs. Then Pasteur received many honors from the French government, and in 1881 he came to a big medical congress in London. Okay, where happened? When he walked down the hall, there was a storm of applause. He looked around thinking that the cheers must be for some royal person, for Pasteur could hardly believe that the applause were meant for him. Okay, he couldn't believe so many people were gathered there in the big medical congress in the London. Government, French government has a, so there everyone was sitting and they began to praise like anything. They were giving so much of honor to him. He couldn't believe. It's like like how we will honor a royal person, right? A king or queen comes, how we will honor in such a way. Pasteur got that much honor, and he couldn't believe that honor is for himself. So then one of his last experiments was in connection with the terrible disease which attacks a person who is bitten by a dog with the rabies. A mad dog, as well as we call it, right? If any mad dog bites, what will happen? In olden days they were how they were scared, no, about this rabies disease. Pasteur, so even he also started to do experiments on this. Then Pasteur had grown very sure about the power of inoculation, and he decided to try out the same idea in cases of rabies. So same idea, he wanted to use the same idea in order to find some vaccine for this one more deadly disease, rabies. So at that time, listen carefully, at that time nearly everyone died who was bitten by a diseased dog. Okay, deadly disease dog. If the dog has that disease, mad dog, then definitely if anyone gets bite from the dog, by the dog, so what will happen? They were dying. Then in 1885, Pasteur made his first experiment on a young Alsatian boy who Alsatian boy who came to him in Paris covered with bites, See, so many bites, how many? Na? From a mad dog. We can imagine the condition of that boy. Na? Not even one bite, so many bites. See, then the boy's mother told Pasteur, if you can cure animals, you can cure my son. See, we can understand the heart of the mother, right? How she is asking, she is requesting. If you can able to cure the animals, why can't you cure my son? Yes, you can cure my son. So Pasteur inoculated him with some weak rabies germs and the boy recovered. See how successful he was? Yes. God really blessed him with his good knowledge. Then, although Dr. Jenner had already discovered how to vaccinate against smallpox, Dr. Jenner already discovered, we have seen right in the earlier paragraphs, we have seen Dr. Jenner for which disease? Smallpox. He did not really understand about bacteria. Though he has discovered smallpox vaccine, but he couldn't understand what is bacteria. Pasteur, after giving his life to his study, was able to prove the value of inoculation and to find out ways of varying it for different diseases. So, like that he could able to prove that inoculation is the best method, and not only one disease but so many diseases he could able to use this inoculation method. See, let us what happened during the First World War 1914 to 18. The troops means the army people, the soldiers were going abroad, were inoculated against such diseases as typhoid and fever, and the very low death rate from these illness among the troops, even in unhealthy places, was a great tribute to Pasteur. So the people who are suffering from such type of diseases, so they have taken this vaccine, so they could able to survive and they were healthy. So, Pasteur's idea really working among the people, even soldiers also, they were safe. And Pasteur's memory is still honored in the Institute Pasteur in Paris, where bacteriology is studied by men of all nations. At the opening of the institute in 1888, Pasteur said two opposing laws. Listen carefully. Pasteur said two opposing laws. What are those opposing laws? One is, see, now the one, a law of blood and death. A law of blood and death, opening out each day new methods of destruction, forces nations to be always ready for the battle. One law is law of blood and death. It is opening the way for the new methods of destruction and forcing the nations for the battle to fight with other. And the another law, what is another law? Let us see, a law of peace, work and health. Peace, work and health, whose only aim is to deliver man from the disasters which surrounded him. So, which law is good, this law or this law? First law is fighting against people, which is leading destruction and battles. But the another law is law of peace, work, health. So, he is also working for what? Against disease, and this is giving peace to the human beings. So, the one seeks violent conquest, the other the relief of mankind. First is violent one, first law. Second law is giving peace and relief to the humankind. And which of these two laws will prevail, God only knows. We don't know, right, which law will be existing and it will be there for a long time. So, only God knows. But of this we may be sure that science is obeying the law of humanity, will always labor to enlarge the frontiers of life. So, we can say that science is always trying to save the human beings. So, it is following the second method, second law. Someone who knew Pasteur well in his old age described him thus: very, with deep lines on his face, the skin and beard both white. See here, this is very important, listen carefully. This is the physical structure of Louis Pasteur, how it looked like, how it looks, his face. So, he was old age, in his old age how he was. Yeah. So, very tired, with deep lines on his forehead, how it was, deep lines were there. Remember, listen carefully.